Has two-tier justice struck again? Ricky Jones, former Labour councillor, said this at a Walthamstow rally.
They are disgusting, nasty bastards, and we need to cull their fruits and get rid of them all.
And he was acquitted. A jury freed him in just 30 minutes. Now, compare that to Lucy Connolly. Her tweet, poorly judged, might I add, got her 31 months. But there is some nuance here. What are the key differences? Well, Connolly pled guilty and Ricky Jones pled innocent. And that meant that Jones got a jury trial and Connolly got a judge. Perhaps the real issue here is that judges are completely out of touch with the public, who seem to take a far more lenient approach to so-called free speech crimes. Many commentators are saying Connolly's plea was rushed, stating that it seems she was somewhat coerced or pushed to plead guilty because Keir Starmer declared he would crack down on the far right following the Southport riots.
I won't shy away from calling it what it is. Far-right thuggery. I want you to know that this violent mob do not represent our country, and we will bring them to justice.
The Prime Minister, in my strong opinion, meddled in the justice system and instructed the courts to come down hard on those protesting. That is what led to this clear two-tier approach. It's where the two cases diverge dramatically. Now, let me be clear on my position. Nobody should ever be arrested or imprisoned for free speech in Britain in 2025. The law is supposed to be blind. But how can it be if a politician can change the rules as they go and make political statements about why they are doing so? All of this could have been avoided if we fixed our broken laws on free speech and enshrined your right to free speech in a written constitution. It is clear to me there is two-tier here, and that was started by the Prime Minister's statements and sentiments which may have inadvertently influenced how decisions were made. Well, let me bring in my panel now.
If you're a US resident, let's face it, things feel uncertain right now. America's national debt, over $36 trillion and climbing. Inflation, still eating away at your savings. And the dollar, down nearly 8% this year, with more countries walking away from it. Meanwhile, the markets, one day they're up, the next day, trillions gone in a blink. So it's no surprise people are asking, where can I actually put my money and sleep at night? That's why more investors are turning to gold and silver. Gold's up over 24% this year, smashing records and soaring past $3,300 an ounce. And some analysts say we could see $6,000 gold before the end of Trump's term. And silver, it's heating up fast, driven by demand in tech, solar and defence. Some analysts say it could double in value this year. If you've been thinking about moving part of your IRA or 401k into gold or silver, tax and penalty free, our friends at Priority Gold make it simple. They're endorsed by Rich Dad's Robert Kiyosaki, ranked #1 by Forbes and Financial Services Review, and trusted by thousands of everyday Americans. Right now, GB News viewers can get a free wealth preservation guide from Priority Gold. It shows you exactly how to add real gold and silver to your IRA or 401k tax and penalty free. Step-by-step plain English, no pressure, just smart information you can act on. Just scan the QR code, click the link in the description below, or if you're a US resident, text WEALTH to 24999. That's WEALTH to 24999 and claim your free guide today. The price of gold can go down as well as up. Past performance does not indicate future performance. Only invest what you can afford.
To talk about this, Will, I'll start with you. The key thing, and the feeling across this country is that this was a two-tier decision. And of course, because they see Lucy Connolly, wife of a Conservative councillor, Ricky Jones, former Labour Conservative councillor, two people on different ends of the political spectrum. One gets 31 months in prison, one gets let off. Of course, the nuance is that the cases were different, the pleas were different. But Do you think Keir Starmer's standing on that podium made a difference to the way that Connolly's plea was, as many are calling it, pushed in a different direction?
Yes, absolutely. And then the fact that she was denied bail on multiple occasions as well, in what would just seem to be incredibly cruel, would also indicate that she was made an example of in a two-tier approach. The fact of the matter is, speech laws will inherently create two-tier outcomes because they're inherently subjective.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. The problem is the legal framework in the country which says that we need to be policing morality through speech. And if you do that, inevitably you're going to get these outcomes where some things will be seen to be morally permissible because they go with the zeitgeist of the time, and some will seem to be far right and therefore lock them up.
Yeah, Kai, you know, the law in this country is quite clear on things. However, when the Prime Minister gets up at a podium at a time when tensions and emotions are extremely high in the country and says, I'm going to crack down on the far right. And by that, he means people who are pretty much on the opposite spectrum to the counter-protesters, let's say. Does that then have an influence with lawyers saying, look, the government are going to come crack down here, they're going to keep the courts open 24 hours a day? Is Keir Starmer responsible here for some two-tier justice?
I don't think he's responsible, but words do matter, and what public figures say should be treated with caution. Who's trying to be statesmanlike and crack down on something that could have been even worse than it was. But actually, to make this a bit two-tier justice, I think this is a fallacy, because actually what we're seeing is an absence of justice across the board. The justice system is creaking, and that is also the case for the likes of Palestine Action, the likes of Just Stop Oil. You know, climate protesters in this country are arrested at 3 times the rate of the global average. So it's not just about the cases that often you guys are cherry-picking and comparing side by side to make it look absolutely awful, which it does. But, you know, this is across the board an issue, but it's the system not working, not sort of something to do with far-right protesters.
I don't think you'll get any arguments on that.
No, I think where you're getting confused is that I'm talking about 2 people who have made statements about incitement of violence. So I have actually been very clear on my position on this. Yeah. I don't want anyone arrested for free speech in this country. If I don't like their right to, if I don't like them what they protest, that's one thing. But I will always fight for everyone's right to protest in this country, no matter what government it is. I think the Tories messed up massively by writing these laws. I'm just going to bring in Renee.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what Kai said, and you're right, Kai. We've argued on this panel that the marches that go through town every weekend are a disgrace, but they're not a disgrace because people should be arrested for it, but they're a disgrace because they're bringing our city to a close. They're intimidating people of a certain faith and not others. That's what's a disgrace. But no one should in this country go to prison, or any country, for speaking their mind. I think what happened here is twofold. I think that Ricky Jones, although Ricky Jones did spend 4 months on remand, actually, but he had plenty of time to engage good lawyers, think about his case, argue it out. Lucy Connolly was in front of a judge in days. She was pressured, I think, because of the pertaining feeling coming down from the government. It was dripping down. You must punish these people so that everybody steps back. And people did step back. I stepped back from Twitter and thought, can I even say that? So I think it does come down from the top, and it's wrong. People should be able to say what they want, but they should be able to stand by it, and we should be able to argue with them.
So I think I can't look at it as a two-tier thing unless both of them had faced a jury, and I think had she gone to jury, it could have been very, very different. I think there are 2 slightly different cases. I mean, Ricky said it while he's been cordoned off, his side against the other side, so you could say it was somewhat contained, although I personally think any incitement to violence, he probably should have gone to prison, at least for some time, right? I think they're just very different cases. I think in Lucy's cases, she should have actually gone to a jury, and it might have been a very different. But I think any incitement to violence should be dealt with a custodial sentence.
In America, to prove incitement to violence, you have to be able to directly link the speech to an actual act.
Yes.
That is the only point at which you can prove incitement to violence.
There's an elephant in the room here, and that is that our legal framework when it comes to speech is corrupted because we have traded free speech for multiculturalism.
Yeah.
This is entirely about trying to hold together a very fragmented...
We've traded free speech for multiculturalism.
Yes, stop and have a think about it, Trey. You can do it in our break, perhaps. But this is a society now where, in order to keep together this very fragmented society, you need to limit what people can say.
In your opinion, it's a fragmented society. It's not about free speech.
It's an opinion television show, mate.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
But for example, the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, the other week literally said in New South Wales, in Australia, they do not have the same legal protections as America when it comes to free speech because we have a multicultural society. Politicians aren't being silent about this. They're being very open. That is the trade-off.
American society is pretty multicultural as well in so many ways.
Sure.
Well, look, I'll say this. I'll leave it here after that. The key problem I have with all of this is there are multiple laws, the Malicious Communications Act, the 2003 Communications Act, the Public Order Act. All of these things are what have the Online Safety Bill. All these things are tying in what I think is a very, very sinister ploy to shut you up at home, and they are coming together at a time where your voice is louder on digital and social media than it ever has been. We should scrap these laws. Your right to free speech is the most God-given right you have ever had. And when you lose that right, no matter it's left or the right, one day a government will come along and weaponise it. One day, if you don't like the lefties' point of view, you don't like their freedom of speech, fine. But if you want them to go to prison, one day that same law will be used against you and your side, and you won't like it then. So we need to scrap these laws and go back to complete freedom of speech and enshrine that in the Constitution.